Hello, everyone. I'm super excited that you're here and you are listening to the Path to a Millionaire Mindset Summit. And I'm your host, Melissa LeBlanc, and I'm really super stoked about our expert today. She's going to be getting on and teaching us ways to think and act and take those action steps towards the success that we're all looking for in our life, including money and time and family. And Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, I'm going to welcome you a little bit later, but first I'm going to read your bio so that I don't miss anything, so that everybody gets to learn about you and I don't totally butcher it. So, internationally known frequency master, conscious creation expert, and naturopathic energy healer, Dr. Kimberly McGeorge invites you to go beyond frequency. Dr. Kimberly has been heard, I'm butchering it anyway. Sorry. Dr. Kimberly has been heard on You Wealth Revolution, The Sheila Show, The Aware Show with Lisa Garr, and on many more radio appearances. She is also a host of her own radio show, The Secret to Everything. Dr. Kimberly McGeorge has over 24 years of clinical experience in both the alternative health and energy healing fields. She has worked on thousands of clients in person and remotely around the world. A popular teacher and lecturer, Dr. Kimberly does very limited private consultations every year. She has worked with popular paranormal groups as their consultant regarding I'm going to get this right someday, right? Okay. Various energies in people and property. And I'm going to have you talk about that a little bit more, too, because that's really intriguing to me. A talented remote viewer, Dr. Kimberly is commonly consulted for many different issues in her clients' lives. With hundreds of testimonials on file, Dr. Kimberly gives the glory for her healing and intuitive abilities to God. So, Dr. Kimberly, I'm super excited that you're here, so welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Melissa is amazing. You guys are so privileged to have her as your hostess. She's a beautiful, energetic hostess, so I'm very happy to be here.
Aw, thank you. And I usually read your bio so I don't butcher it, but it just didn't happen this time, so I apologize.
You're fine. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here. And really briefly, talk about your paranormal groups as like the consulting regarding the energies and people and property.
Yeah, really quick. I've been the consultant. They like to call me all sorts of things, but I just call myself a consultant. But for different paranormal groups, because I have the ability to remote view, so I also have the ability, obviously, to move energy in long-distance situations. So they have me go ahead of them before their investigation, and I point out what rooms they should focus on, what areas of the property, what they're going to find, who they should talk to, name names, describe apparitions that they're going to encounter, so that it shortcuts a lot of the investigation. And I've been on investigations, I don't know if you have, Melissa, but they're so much more glamorous on TV, because I have sat in a room for like 3 hours falling asleep with nothing happening. So it's much, much better, and that's me. So imagine the average person doing investigations. So it's just much, much better to know what's going to happen and what's to go on. So, and then if there's anything negative, I assist homeowners with suggestions of how to take back the power and authority of their domain and remove the negative energy. So anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for explaining that. That's cool. And I just like to showcase, your amazing abilities and talents, because you really are super, super talented. So I'm excited to start today with this first question, and that is, talk about your childhood and your upbringing and what did that look like? If you could start there, I would totally love it.
Well, I had amazing parents. They're wonderful parents. They're not necessarily awake parents, and a lot of you guys know what that means. So I had a little bit of a struggle. My dad happens to be a pastor, and so my abilities to be an empath I had since childhood. And one way I explained, like, I didn't realize I had these abilities, I didn't understand these abilities, was I would lay in bed when I was 3 and I would hear ambulances and things like that. And I would cover my head with my pillow and try not to hear them, because when I heard these sirens in real time, in my mind's eye or in front of me, it was like a movie. I would see the actual scene of the disaster or the crime, and that was like suicide and murder and domestic violence and death and children dying in car accidents and really, really horrible things. So those sounds triggered my abilities, and to me, they were, to be honest, like super, super horrifying and awful. And so I grew up feeling really, really kind of warped, because what 3-year-old child sees things like that for real? It's pretty traumatizing. Talk about PTSD. That's like some psychic PTSD. And so I also was able to see various forms of energy around people, and also various independent energies from a very young age. So that even made it worse, because I saw things other people didn't see, and that makes you feel crazy. And so I had kind of a little bit of a rough childhood, as far as I really didn't feel like I fit into my family and necessarily the other world, because I'm like, I kept waiting for my friends to like share their experiences, and believe me, none of my friends ever had any of those experiences. So I kind of kept it hidden until I got to college, and when I got to college, it became really cool, because people got caught on really quick that I was really intuitive, so they would come to me for advice about their boyfriends and their girlfriends. Is she going to say yes if I ask her to marry her? Is my boyfriend cheating on me? Am I going to get in, am I going to flunk this class? And I would energetically help them approach the situation. I'd be like, well, you are going to flunk this class, but it's really cool when you're a remote viewer and you can see the energetics of the situation, because then you know how to move the energy in your favor. So I would teach them how to manipulate the energy. They didn't know that's what I was doing, but that's what I was doing. So people loved me. And then word got around about my abilities, and in that area of Chicago, there's a lot of occult crime. People always think I'd say occult. I mean OCCULT, like demonic type of occult activity, and there's a lot of covens and stuff around there. So I was called in as a consultant when I was really young, about 20, to help the police station remote view and kind of figure out what was going on and lead them, kind of like what I do with the paranormal groups, but I did it when I was younger, like hardcore with some crime scenes. Not a lot, because it really freaked me out, to be honest. It was pretty hardcore stuff. So I also did perform my first, I'll say this on your show because I feel like the energy allows it, but I performed my first exorcism when I was 20. So I'm really, really familiar with all kinds of energies, like the most positive of positive and the most negative of negative. And people are always like, there's no good and evil. There's no good and evil. It's just all love. And I always challenge that person, okay, come with me. Let's go to an exorcism. And anybody that's ever said that to me, they change their worldview instantly, because it is so intense. Like, it's incredibly crazy. But anyway, so coming, into my adult life, well, you just said childhood, so I guess this is kind of up to childhood. I'll be quiet.
Well, I love it, because it just, like, it helps us see how things evolved for you, so I love it. And then, like, I love what you're talking about, because there is an actual universal law of polarity, and I don't know if there's a lot of people that are aware of that, but it's an actual, like, universal law, so there has to be opposition in everything, including, like whether you want to call it good or evil or whatever that is, but there is the opposition in everything. It doesn't mean that you have to choose that. It just it's always there.
That's true.
So, anyway, so I like that you brought that up. So as things evolved for you, did your gifts and abilities evolve with you, or were you just able to bring them out more? Like, what did that look like?
The more I used my abilities and my gifts, and the more that, because a lot of us sit at home or we are in conversations with friends and family, and we're like, you get a picture, or you hear something, or you know that you know that you know something, and you don't speak it. So the more that I spoke what I saw and what I knew, and the more that was affirmed in reality, then the more I felt like my gifts grew. The more I used them, the more they came in fully and clear, and there wasn't shame. And that's one of the things we may clear later today. We're going to clear a lot of stuff, but there wasn't shame. I felt a lot of shame, and it wasn't even that I was shamed because my parents knew. I just felt shame because I was different. And I think a lot of people have abilities. I actually think everybody has abilities. They just don't know it. Sometimes we're not awake or plugged in or turned on or encouraged or taught. So, I mean, I think that's a really important point. You know, it's not, I say it's not me. I'm not anything special whatsoever. I just had certain abilities that I was aware of or that came in at a younger age, and I believe some of that is passed definitely through the DNA and the family line. So some of that, and when you're aware of them and how they come in, I think has a lot to do with your family line and what you inherit. But that's just my opinion on it. But I think everybody has abilities.
Right. Yeah, and I would totally agree with that. And I think a lot of it is what you're saying, you know, with us feeling like it's okay to just be us. I find that a lot of people, they don't connect to the authenticism of themselves. And so how can they just be themselves when they don't feel like they can or they're not accepted? So I would love to hear, and well, before I ask that question, I totally believe, and you said earlier, like intuitive, like my word that I like to use is like intuitive. And, you know, it can come in different forms and you can see it in different lights in a different way. So how would you, because, you know, the summit is about mindset, it's about action steps, it's about the ways that, you know, the ways we can move forward to really change that part of us to become successful. And, you know, I think part of that is looking at that part of ourselves and seeing what is it in me, so then I can go and take that and move forward with that. So how would you suggest that somebody looks for their intuitive gifts or tries to find what that looks like for them? Do you have any suggestions?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's a choice. So you have to choose to explore that part of you, or if you aren't aware of it. And one of the ways, and I'm a big fan of this, is shortcut all my pain and, like, get to the point. You know, learn from my experience, learn from others' experiences, and seek out those who have been there or who are doing what you aspire to. So if you think you might be intuitive, don't just talk to intuitives, talk to successful intuitives that are where you're at in life, whether it's local and they have a shop or whether it's they speak at metaphysical, actual in-person, in the big auditoriums, or whether they do online webinars, or whether they're on Telesummits. But talk to the people that are where you would like to go, and learn from them, and listen to their stories, and learn from their lessons, the shortcuts. There's nothing wrong with shortcuts. And so my first advice would be, you know, it doesn't have to be hard. So get that out of your energy field, that it has to be hard and challenging and difficult. It may have been my path, but it doesn't have to be your path. And that's a gift.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, you know, just us going to those people who are, you know, successful in the way that we want to be successful, it does help shortcut us just in that, because, you know, we learn from their experiences, and it doesn't mean we have to experience it in the same way. It means that, you know, learn from experience, preferably not your own. Kind of like shortcuts that directly from learning from that person if they've already experienced that. And, you know, if that person was smart, they could have done that too. You know what I mean? It just keeps the ball rolling faster for you. So I like that you brought that up and that you said that. And it was interesting because I'm like the curious type, and I guess I was kind of just brought in with the bigger picture of things. And so you were somebody who I saw at a level of success that I wanted, and that's kind of where part of where my story began was, you know, like reaching out and wanting to learn more and learning from people who are where I want to be. And you were a piece of that for me. So I think that's really cool that you're sharing that, and it's like it's come full circle because it's just cool. I can really, really relate to that. So I'm glad that you shared that. And I can relate to that with you personally. So it's great.
You're hilarious. You crack me up. You're so funny. Well, I've just got to tell you guys, Melissa has many talents, and, you know, hosting a Telesummit is just one of them. She's a very talented young lady herself in this whole realm. Another thing I would say along with that, so I'd say seek out, you know, people, you know, like I said, that have been where you're at and where you'd like to go, but also be careful who you align with, because when you align with someone, you align with their energy. You have to remember that absolutely everything is energetics. And the more you can run every choice, and it needs to become a subconscious habit in the back of your mind, and if you have to write it down, then write it down. But, every choice I make is energetic. Every choice I make has an energetic component to it. And that can be a neutral component, it can be a positive component, or it can affect you negatively. So that's a huge lesson and something to keep in mind. And that's not just, in developing like a millionaire mindset. That's a lesson in every alliance, a love alliance, a business alliance, a family alliance, a friendship, how you pick your friends. I mean, there is an energetic consequence, and I don't mean consequence, in a negative way. It can be a positive consequence in who you align with.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like anytime that you get any type of a business coach, they will always tell you, be careful with who you hang around, and you make that conscious decision to be around people who you want to be like. And, like community is huge. Community is important in your life, and I think it's a good idea right now for you guys in the audience to take a look at what does that community look like. Is it reflecting where you want to be in your life, or do you need to start making new choices to go towards the direction that you want to go? And you know what that direction looks like more than anybody else. So, get into a group, get into a community of like-minded people and someone who you want to be like, and those people and that community of like-minded individuals. And, that works just like you were talking about, Dr. Kimberly, in business, in friendships, in love, in any type of aspect of your life. And so how does this work with money? Since, part of this summit is around, money and our mindset towards money, how would we use that in that sense?